Hello, Captain. Loading crew is finished, 400 gallons of fuel and almost 9,000 pounds of coal on board. So we are about 1,500 pounds of a gross weight. It's cold in Berlin and HQ thought they could use that coal for Christmas. We will need all the runway we can get, I hope no more. Got to go ready for departure while we are waiting for clearance. And don't forget that we are flying in icing conditions.
Bathberg Tower, Rudolph 1 holding short, runway 27 right, ready for takeoff.
Rudolph 1, Prospect Tower, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared to takeoff, Rudolph 1.
Rudolph 3, cleared to taxi, hold short of runway 27 right.
Taxi 2 and hold short, runway 27 right, Rudolph 3.
Rudolph 4, cleared to taxi, hold short of runway 27 right.
Taxi 2 and hold short, runway 27 right, Rudolph 4.
Bathberg Tower, Rudolph 2, holding short, runway 27 right, ready for takeoff.
Rudolph 2, Prospect Tower, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, Rudolph 2.
Rudolph 5, cleared to taxi, hold short of runway 27 right via taxiway Alpha.
Taxi 2 and hold short of runway 27 right via taxiway Alpha, Rudolph 5. Okay, here we go. Taxi speed is between 10 and 15 knots. Our cruise altitude for today is 3,000 feet at 140 knots.
Bathberg Tower, Rudolph 3, holding short, runway 27 right, ready for takeoff.
Rudolph 3, Prospect Tower, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, Rudolph 3.
Rudolph 6, cleared to taxi, hold short of runway 27 right.
Taxi 2 and hold short of runway 27 right, Rudolph 6.
Bathberg Tower, Rudolph 4 holding short, runway 27 right, ready for takeoff.
Rudolph 4, Prospect Tower, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, Rudolph 4.
Rudolph 5, stop immediately. You have no takeoff clearance.
Prospect Tower, Rudolph 5, holding short runway 27 right, ready for takeoff.
Rudolph 5, Prospect Tower, ground position. Rudolph 5, Prospect Tower, cleared for takeoff.
Clear to take off, Rudolph 5.
Johannesburg Tower, Rudolph 6, Hilton short runway 27 right, ready for takeoff.
Rudolph 6.
So this is your first flight on Operation Vittles. We have some time on this flight, so I will provide you with some background information if you don't mind. On the early morning of June 24th, 1948, the Red Army blocked all traffic into the 3 non-Soviet zones of post-war Berlin. One day later, the Soviets stopped supplying food to the civilian population in the non-Soviet sectors. Electricity from power plants in the Soviet zone was also shut off. So 2 million people in West Berlin were effectively cut off from all supply lines, except what could be transported airborne via 3 air corridors leading to Berlin from Hamburg in the north, Frankfurt in the south, and Bückeburg in between. Calculations showed that for Berlin to survive, it would need 5,000 tons of supply each day. When the airlift began on June 26th, it was supposed to last for 3 weeks. The United States were using 70 C-47 Skytrains, able to supply 600 tons a day. The British Royal Air Force could bring in another 750 tons. It was obvious that the performance of Operation Vittles had to be brought up very fast. US Air Force did this by moving additional C-54 Skymasters to Germany, which have a payload of 10 tons compared to the 3.5 tons of our Skytrain. Soon we should be able to see a rotating light in front. That is Rehbeck Airfield near Lüchow. We will turn right to 96 degrees there. We will then enter the corridor. Just follow Rudolph 4 at a distance of about 2 nautical miles. To ensure maximum capacity and safety, the 3 corridors are operated as one-way streets. Flights into Berlin use the northern and southern corridors. The flights back are squeezed into the center corridor. The airplanes fly in 5 altitude layers with intervals between 1 and 3 minutes. Each airplane has exactly 1 landing attempt. If it is unsuccessful, it has to return with the payload still on board.
Flight leader to flight. Weather conditions are deteriorating east of the Elbe River. Descend 1,300 feet on crossing the Alps south of Wittenberg to avoid the thunderstorms.
Descending 1,300 feet makes 1,700 for us, Captain. Okay, we're approaching the Elbe River. Let's start our descent to 1,700. One of our pilots, Gail Halverson, started dropping chocolate bars, chewing gum and other sweets using handkerchiefs as parachutes. The number of children waiting at the runways grew from day to day. The airplanes are nicknamed Rosinenbomber, which means raisin bombers, by the people of Berlin, although in the States they call them candy bombers. When our CO General Tanner heard about it, he expanded that into Operation Little Vittles, and today donations from all over the States provide us with 850 pounds of sweets to drop each day.
Flight leader to flight. Seems we have dodged a thunderstorm. Climb back to initial cruise altitude near Neustadt.
This means climb back to 3,000 feet for us, Captain. Let's take a look into the future. The record for the airlift will be set in the Easter Parade on April 16th, 1949, when almost 13,000 tons will be carried into Berlin in almost 1,400 flights. That means a takeoff or a landing every 31 seconds during 24 hours. The blockade will end on May 12, 1949, and Operation Vittles will officially terminate on September 30th after 461 days. In the end, 280,000 flights will have carried over 2 million tons of supplies into the besieged city. 84 people will have lost their lives, but Berlin will still be a free city.